Hi everyone, it's Mandy Alexander from MT Nest Designs here with you, and in this video I thought I'd show you how to make a tag. Some of the products I'm going to be using are Journal 1 stamp set, Textures 2 stamp set, and Chevron Waves stencil. I'm also going to be using some Distress Oxides in Carved Pumpkin, Abandoned Coral, Picked Raspberry, Gathered Twigs, Peacock Feathers, Twisted Citron. I'm also going to be using VersaFine in Onyx Black and Smoky Grey. Along with those I'll be using some craft cardstock, clear embossing powder, white gel pen, scissors, ribbon, just a few bits and pieces. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is make the tag. I prefer to make tags than to buy them, because this way you can make them to the size you want. And this particular tag is going to be 3 inches wide by 6 inches long. And I'm just going to take the corners off the tags. So I'm just going to pop it down here. I don't know if you can see that, but this is my 2-inch line. So I'm using this corner on this line right here, and this is my 2-inch. I'm going to take the top corner and I'm going to drag that across to what is my 3-inch line on the grid here. I'm just going to hold that in place. And then I'm going to do pretty much the same, but on the other side. And I'm just going to add this little piece that I've just chopped away back in so that I get the point back again, so that I can use it as a reference guide as to where I need to put this end. So this end up here is going to be on the 3. I'm just going to pull that over a little bit so that the bottom end is on the 2, which is just here. I'm going to hold that in place, chop that off, and that gives me a nice even tag. So the only other thing I need to do is pop a quick hole into the tag. I've already done that on one of these already. All I've used is a hole punch. I've got a crocodile, and I just by eye judged the center of where I wanted it and put a quick hole in. So the first thing I'm going to do now is bring back the oxides. This Twisted Citron, Peacock Feathers. I'm going to put the Gathered Twigs to one side because I don't need that at this minute. Carved Pumpkin and Abandoned Coral. And this is where the Chevron Waves stencil comes in. Not quite, sorry, I'm just getting ahead of myself there. Before I use that, because that's going to be used with the Gathered Twigs, we're going to lay down some colour onto the tag. So the first, I've got orange on my blending tool already, so I'm just going to go straight in with the orange. So I'm just going to pick up some ink and just start adding the colour. One of the best things about the oxides is that they stay really bright and vibrant even on a dark cardstock like the craft card I'm using here. So the next colour I'm going to use is the Picked Raspberry because it's already on my blending tool. Grab some colour. And pop a bit here, I think. Just pulling that down. Okay. Then I'm going to swap out the pink and bring in the blue. So this is Peacock Feathers. Oh, that's nice. Swap out the blue for the red. This one is the Abandoned Coral. Pop that one just in the middle here. And that leaves me with the bottom corner for the twisted citron. Love how vibrant these are. I think I might even just add a little bit more of the citron up here. And maybe a little bit here as well. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. I'm just going to move those out of the way and bring in the gathered twigs. Before I do that, I just want to clean up a little bit of the ink from underneath so that it doesn't contaminate the gathered twigs when I use it in a second. Okay, so I'm going to bring in the stencil and I'm just going to line this up to the side and start inking the side. So again, picking up some ink on the blending tool, and I'm just going to go sort of from the edge out because I don't want it to reach the middle. So just lift it up and see. I think I want a little bit darker, so just add a little bit more of the ink. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, that's fine. And then do the other side. Just keep that there. I'm just going to use a bit of kitchen roll just to hold this side down because this side is now obviously covered in ink. So pick up some more, and again, so that I'm not touching the middle, just working from the just off the edge in an outward motion. Let's have a look. Now a little bit darker, so a little bit more ink. That's what I'm after there. So I'll clean my stencil later. Just move these out of the way for now. So this is where we're at so far. We have the ink laid down and the stripes coming in at the sides. So I'm just going to give that a quick wipe so I don't get ink everywhere. Next step is to add the VersaFine onto my Hessian weave stamp that is in Textures 2. So I'm going to bring some paper down because I will be using the embossing, and I'm also going to grab my embossing, sorry, my stamping mat so that I get a nice clean image. Okay. So just adding the ink on. A nice good coverage, and I'm just going to pop this down the sides but off the edge. Give it a nice firm press so that we get a good clean print. Continue that up and then do the same on the other side. Now they won't line up, but you can sort of give it a try and kind of make them match to some extent, like so. Again, stamping on the other side, but slightly off the edge. kind of lining them up as best as you can. And press. So you've still got all the colour showing through the weave stamp. You've still got the gathered twigs showing through with the stenciling that we just did at the sides. So I'm going to dry this now, because in a moment I'm going to add another stamp, and I don't want the embossing powder to cling to that stamp that to these ones that I've already put down. So I'm going to put the heat gun on and give this a blast of the heat so that it dries. It may not dry completely, because I'm not going to do this for too long, so it may not dry completely, but that's fine because it will just add to the overall effect. I just don't want it clinging, I don't want the embossing powder clinging to all of it, because the oxides will pick up the embossing powder as well. Okay, that should be hopefully enough. So the next stamp I'm going to use is what I call my Galaxy Stars from the Textures 2, and this one we're going to use with the Onyx Black. Just putting the ink on, giving a nice good coverage. Just doing this at the bottom. Give a good press so that all the stars come out. Very nice. And then repeat the process, filling in the gap on the other side. So again, these, because it's a random pattern, you just kind of have to roughly put where you're going to go. And this is where I'm going to flip my paper, because obviously these inks are still wet and they'll pick up the embossing powder. Add the embossing powder. Just a little bit there. And dry that. So the embossing gun's going on again. Gonna let it get hot. And then dry from underneath. Hopefully you can see that okay. As you see the embossing powder turn, move on to the next part. Sorry about that, I've got a bag slipping at the side of me there. So we have embossed that, so it's got a nice sheen to that. Kind of like the stars are actually twinkling. Let me just tidy up real quick. So what I'm going to do now is, using the words from the Journal 1 stamp set, I'm just going to ink up the words believe, dream and create, making sure I get them all. Again with the Onyx Black, just line this up. This is pretty much just the piece that I chopped off the bottom, so none of it goes to waste. Nice good press. Adding the embossing powder again so that these reflect the stars, because they'll also be shiny then. And minding fingers, dry this with the heat gun. And see, when it turns, I just move it so it goes onto another part to emboss. I'm going to turn that around, it's getting a bit hot for my hand. And that's that done. Pop that there and tidy up again. So this is just a nice quick project. It's something that you can do a large batch of and have them ready for the tags ready and just attach them to birthday presents. You could do them in a Christmassy style, so maybe use the stars because that's quite Christmassy, but you could do maybe more reds and greens in the background so that it looks more festive. So I'm just going to tidy these up because I just want to add some colour onto the words that I just did so that they again look like the tag. So all I'm going to do for that is just pick up the two tools that I was using before. This happens to have the green and the orange left on it, so I'm just going to make sure that that's fully embossed, which it is, and I'm just going to go over because there's obviously ink left from when I was just using it. And then do the same with the orange. And that's that. Give it a bit of a buff back again because obviously where the ink's gone on top of the embossed, it's dulled it down a bit, but a little wipe over and that brings it back to shine. Quickly cut these out. And we are almost finished. So I like to leave just a slight border around the outside. You don't have to, you can go all the way up to the frame. But these are super quick and easy to cut out. That's one. If you leave a border, you don't have to be super neat. And it kind of just has a more of a handmade look to it as well. And that's two, just one more to go. Cut this out really quickly. Almost finished. Done. Just move my rubbish. So all I'm going to do now is stick these onto the tag and I'm going to put them on flat. And I think they're going to go in the order of dream, believe and create. Spread them out a bit and bring create down into the stars like so. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm just going to add the glue. I'm just using a quick wet glue here, putting them on at angles. Oops, upside down. Give them a press. I'm just gonna, hopefully my pen will work. Just let me grab a scrap of cardstock and try and get that to flow. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That seems to be flowing. Okay, so all I'm gonna do with the pen is just highlight a couple of the stars just on one side. Not loads of them. Just a couple. One more. Yeah, that'll do. And we're pretty much at the end. The final step is just to take some ribbons. All I've done is grab 3 ribbons in the same sort of colours that I've used to add the ink. So I've got a red, a yellow and a green, and I'm just going to line them up, find the middle, and then the way I get it through the punched hole is I've created the middle part here. Sorry, I haven't created the middle. I'll fold it over to the middle, and then I'm just going to fold that over. So I get like a point See that there? And then I'm just going to push that through the hole. Manipulate it so that it goes how I want it to sit. Pop the threads through the loop at the back. And I find, because there's quite a few, if you pull them one by one, it sort of tightens it nicely. And that's that. That's the tag all finished. So it didn't take very long, but it's a really nice way to just, you know, jazz up a present. I mean, if you were giving something that was not overly big, you could cover it in some craft card that you've decorated in the same sort of style with the stamps randomly with the stars randomly stamped all over it. Or you could use the Hessian, you know, or just any of the stamps in the collection would work. And then you could use that as the paper and then use this for the tag to go with it. Or you could create a pocket tag where you have, you know, if I bring this scrap in, an extra piece sitting over, and you could then use like a gift card to slip in behind if you just glued around the edges but not the top one here. You've then got a pocket that you could just pop something in. That's also nice to do if you're creating like a scrapbook page. This could be sat in a pocket, and on the back you could maybe have a story that went along with it of a special gift you received and have the picture of the gift, you know, any number of things. But that's a nice, quick and simple tag. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. I'll post a still picture of the tag on my social media. You can find me on Facebook, look for Mandy Alexander. I have a craft page there where I share lots of inspiration with you. You can also find my Emptiness Designs page on Facebook as well. I have an Instagram account, that's Emptiness Designs. So, you know, pop along and give us a follow. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.